All right, intern Alex, great read. You will be heavily critiqued and scrutinized this hour, I would imagine, but off to a great start, young man, I got to say. Welcome in Hour 3 Pirate Radio Live. Chandler Honeycutt, Alex Harper, intern Zach, the big dog Glenn Griffin here, and we are joined by the head football coach of the Pirates, Mike Houston, live in studio. Coach, welcome in. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good to see you, and it's been a hectic off season. We'll dive into all of that, but first of all, what'd you think of you see this guy Alex Long snapping? How's he doing at the radio side of things?
Hopefully he's as good in here as he is on the field. So I mean, he did a pretty good job for snapping last year, but I'm a little skeptical of what's going to happen, in this booth in here.
We shall see how he does this hour.
You guys must really trust him.
We do, and for good reason. He has come in and been a great teammate right away, and has done all the right things. So we are very, very we're big Alex Harper fans here at Pirate Radio.
I am too.
We got some questions rolling in. We'll get to those on Facebook and YouTube throughout our conversations. But first of all, Coach, how last season went. You knew that you had to improve some things, and you went about improving those things this offseason. And I just kind of want to get your take on where we are now compared to maybe where we were that final game of the regular season last year.
Well, obviously we've had a lot of change, and it was needed, and it was difficult to go through. None of the first stuff that had to be done was enjoyable at all, and it really that was tough, and I don't ever want to go through that again. And so but I'm very pleased with the way things have turned out today. Really pleased with our coaching staff. Very pleased with the returning players that we have, a veteran group, and I'm very pleased with the additions that we've been able to add to that group to make our roster what it is today. And so now it's, they're heavy at work. I just left the coaching staff over at the office, and they're preparing for tomorrow morning and later this week, and starting to prepare for spring practice, and everybody getting on the same page and speaking the same language, and doing the same thing with the players.
How about do you go to the players when you're making changes, like the offensive coordinator spot with Donnie Kirkpatrick and bringing in John David Baker, and talk to the leaders, talk to guys like Rajay, say, here's what we're doing, let's buy in, and how do those conversations go?
I try to be very transparent with the players, and just as I think honesty, and because we do have a strong trusting relationship between our staff and our players. And so I think anytime you're going through that stuff, it's important that they understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, what direction we want to go. And I told them I wanted to go kind of a completely different direction offensively, and really, I think in college football now even more, it's you've got to be able to be explosive offensively, and so went after a style of play that is going to reflect that kind of aggressiveness that we want in all three phases. And very pleased with John David Baker, and I think that as our fans get to know him more and get to see his what his identity is going to be for our offense, I think that it'll really create even more excitement than it has already.
Mike Houston joining us inside the Pirate Radio studios. Coach, the offensive numbers not where you wanted them last year. Defense was fantastic. I hate to ask you this way, but are you surprised the whole thing didn't implode? I mean, the buy-in of the guys, the ability to keep the locker room tight when you're losing games like that week in, week out that are right there, you got a chance to win them. I mean, I guess it says a lot about you, the coaching staff, and the players you had, that the whole thing didn't fall apart. You know what I'm saying?
I think it says a lot about the character of the people in the program, and I'm talking, the players, the assistant coaches, everyone. And I think that it says just a lot about who they are. And it was tough. I mean, because you're sitting there every week, you have a shot to win the ball game in the fourth quarter just about every single week last year, and you weren't able to get it done. You just never could generate enough, to win the game. And but the players, you can look at the very last game, how hard our players competed and played throughout the year, and how they stuck together. And so I really credit who they are as individuals.
And it was awesome to hear. We talk to Jack Powers a lot now, but guys like Jeremy Lewis say, "Hey, we're busting our tails for this school, for our defense, for our entire team. It doesn't matter what's going on the other side of the ball. We take care of what we can," and everybody just stuck together despite the 2 wins. And Coach, looking at your resume, you kind of said it. That's the first time you've really gone through something like that. So I know it was tough for you. It wasn't fun showing up asking you questions every week. I can tell you that. And I know you didn't really enjoy answering, but you faced them and had to answer them throughout the season.
Well, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't ever want to go through that ever again for any of us. And I think that's what's driving everyone right now is just making sure that we are where we want to be, where we need to be, where we should be as a program as a whole. And I think that some of the change has breathed new life into the people inside of Ward in the building. I think it's probably breathed some new life into our fan base.
No doubt.
So I'm excited to get started with spring practice.
And those things go hand in hand. You're doing all you can to make this team better, and at the same time you're doing all you can to get an additional buy-in from the fans, and some of those fans needed it after last year. But I feel like you've done about all you can to get into their good graces here these last few months. So do you think about that?
I think about just trying to do my job, and trying to prepare the Pirates to be as good as they can be. But when I took this job, our program, I do think, kind of stands out in our league, because this is not we're not in the middle of downtown Houston, Texas, or downtown Tampa, Florida. We're in a community that it is grassroots. That's who we are. We're blue collar, we're hard workers. That's who our fans are. That's who our school is. This is different. This is one where no one person can do it alone. It takes all of us. And I mean fans, administrators, players, coaches, everybody. And the more unified we can be, the more successful we can be. But this is a special place. This is not got all the money and all that, and this is a place where you do things by hard work and toughness and doing it together.
Coach, we were able to talk to some of the new staff members last week, and also catch up with guys like Blake Harrell, who have been around. Yeah. Darrell Roberts, the one recognizable face on the offensive side, and he hadn't been here long, but was on the staff last year. And then new staff on the offensive side, a young and hungry group, I could say, from talking to those guys. But how about the staff you've assembled here on offense? All these guys seem to kind of know what they're doing as far as what you want to do offensively in the scheme.
Well, I did want to, bring a lot of energy into our program on that side of the ball. And that's, obviously Blake has done a great job with that on the defensive side of the ball. And we really, we need to, the whole thing needs to look like that. That's who we say we are. And it's, I told the players, our actions and our words have to match up. And so when I hired John David, and I went through a pretty thorough process of vetting guys and stuff as I was going through the interviews, and started with a pretty large list. And by the time we got down to the end, it really was just, this is no doubt the right guy at the right time. But also, one thing I felt strongly about is you can't bring him in and then ask him to do something and not give him what he feels like he needs to do it. And so whether it's a player or a coach or whatever, really worked very closely with him to make sure that he had the offensive line coach that he wanted, that he had the running backs coach that he wanted. It had to be people that he trusted. If I'm trusting him, he's got to have assistants that he trusts sitting in that room with him. And then, I gave him free range with, hey, what style of quarterback you want to run this offense. And so whomever we bring in, they've got to fit your scheme and your style. And so, I feel like we've been able to give him the pieces and the people to execute what he has a vision for.
I asked him, John David Baker, what position group is he most excited about right now? And I kind of threw out running backs and tight ends because I know you have a lot of returners there and guys that have played good football for East Carolina. He said the offensive line. I was a little surprised to hear that, but he likes what they have there, what they're adding to it, and that is going to be a key. It always is for every offense, but for this offense. And that was good to hear, Coach, that he likes the pieces he has there.
Well, the advantage is, the returning group that we have in that room, they all are experienced now. So, you couldn't say that this time last year. But as you sit there today, all of them have experience, and then we've added new pieces to that room that Matt and John David both felt like were what we needed. There's going to be a lot of competition this spring, but they are really, positively encouraged by what they've seen from not only the guys returning, but also from the new guys coming in. So I think there's a lot of excitement in that room.
Of course, a premium this offseason as well was improving the quarterback room, and you went out and did that via the transfer portal and got a returner and a kid, Hodge, coming from the high school ranks. So, Coach, how about that position room right now? And John David Baker said it is a competition, and he said if Cole Hodge is the best guy, he's going to play. If it's Raheem Jeter, he'll play. So it sounds like it's open right now.
Well, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care who plays. Whoever can put points on the board and get the ball down the field, that's who needs to play that position, because this offense is going to be a big play explosive offense, and so you got to have a trigger man, and that was something we. Towards the tail end of Holton's career, obviously we were very good offensively, a lot because he had the right guy behind center. And so you're trying to create that same situation now where you have a guy that has total command of the field. And so I can't wait to watch the competition this spring. And I am a huge Cole Hodge fan. I love the guys we have here right now this spring, Raheem, Jake, Caton, but Cole Hodge, there will be a day when, he's the same kind of guy.
I have not spoken with Jay Garcia. Was able to briefly interview Caden Hauser. First thing that stood out to me, just sounds mature, and he knows, he just gets it. It sounds like
right.
He understands what this is all about. Sounds like he is ready to play and win. And has that been kind of seen in the locker room throughout this team in his short time here, Coach?
No doubt. I mean, he obviously came here, with a goal and a plan, and he's not naive enough to think that there aren't a lot of things that go along with that he has to do behind the scenes. But I think the one thing you can say about both Caton and Jake is both of them are very confident, both of them are talented, and both of them have been in pressure situations. And Caton last year, that's a tough situation he was in all year last year, and you watch some of his games, and he really put up some solid numbers at times last year. And so now you have a guy that's been through that fire. It is going to be great to see the competition between these two this spring.
Yeah, that's a good point. We talked about the adversity that the Michigan State Spartans faced last year, so he's been through it, he's seen it, and came out better on the other side. Coach, speaking of transfers, Robert is asking, is there a transfer or two that have impressed you the most at this early stage? Anybody that's kind of stood out to you so far?
There's several on both sides of the ball, but one that just has flashed for me that I think is going to become a leader for us is Winston Wright. And this is a guy that was all Big 12 at West Virginia. Had an injury at Florida State. Was in the mix at Florida State, but had guys ahead of him. He comes in here and he is a very driven young man, and a great competitor and worker. We've seen that already. We finished up. We had sprints at the end of mat drills last Thursday, and you looked, and like he and Rajay and Javius and Chase. They're all right there side by side, challenging each other. Is really enjoyable to watch and see the way they were competing after an hour of going through pretty intense drills.
You mentioned Chase there. I'm kind of looking for a guy to step up, be a playmaker for the team last year, and at times it was Chase Sowell and what he was able to do. How excited are you about his future here at East Carolina?
Very. I think now, just like we talked about with the offensive line, now all of a sudden he is experienced. he has been in the big ball games, big moments, and that experience. He is going to be a much better version of Chase Sowell this fall compared to last fall, just because of that. Now, the big challenge for him right now is this off season is really developing his body and preparing, to be able to be the guy that can, every play, every game, all throughout the year, be a guy for us on that side of the ball.
Mike Houston joining us inside the Pirate Radio studios. If you got a question, you can get it in Facebook and YouTube. We'll pass that along to Coach. And congratulations to Coach Doust, Tim Doust, as he moves on to Pitt. But that makes an opening here at East Carolina. So how's that search going for you right now, Coach?
It's going good. I mean, like I mentioned the other day, Tim, told me the minute he was contacted by Pitt, and the head coach at Pitt and I are friends, and go a few years back, so the relationship was positive there. But I knew before they ever really started talking, so we've been preparing in case that did happen. And so Coach Harrell and I had a list, and we're bringing candidates to campus this week to interview, and hope to have that knocked out maybe even by the weekend.
How's that work? I mean, it is a complete business. We know that, but a buddy of yours, Narduzzi's going after your guy. I mean, what are the feelings like there when that happens? The good thing is most of the time the coach just will call me. Yeah. And, hey, I'm thinking about interviewing this person or talking to this person, and so you can just talk through it. But you just got to be professional. Yeah, and I always wonder, what is the right way to go about it? And as long as the communication's up front, that's how you do it. That's it. And Tim was great, handled everything, consummate professional, handled everything, the way you should handle it. And so, he and I, we will maintain a friendship beyond this move, right. And we'll always do anything we can to help he and his family out. And because the transition now, he's up there right now, but Jen and the kids are still here in Greenville. So that's what happens when these coaching things go, is the coach takes off and then the family's here. So he handled it in a way that we'll always do anything we can to help him. That's awesome. Mike Houston joining us here in the Pirate Radio studios. Kenny asking Coach Houston, how important is spring practice going to be this year? He also adds the spring game should be exciting with three new quarterbacks, and Raheem Jeter and a new offensive coordinator calling plays. So, Coach, just how important is this spring compared to springs of the past? Well, I mean, this probably goes back to a couple of springs early on. Is it's pivotal. This is not a hey, we want to win. A couple of years down the road. No, we're ready to win now. And so I think this spring has got to set the plate for that. This was, you look at last year's season. You do have so much positive coming back from a standpoint of the defensive side of the ball and some of the experience on offense, and so you add in some of the new pieces with all that, and this is a roster that's ready to compete at a very high level immediately, but we got to get everybody on the same page. So this is, I would say, one of the biggest springs in recent history for Pirate football. And just because the defense was good last year doesn't mean it's going to be good this year. But so many, Blake Harrell being back is huge. The returners and everything, and a new coach to the mix too, Damon Magazoo, and that got Pirate fans fired up because he was a great player on the field. UNLV was a mess, and they started winning games here the last couple of years. He was there and a part of that. So how about adding Mags to the staff, Coach? Well, just going in, I knew who he was, but I didn't really know him. But then the more I talked to Coach Odom at UNLV, and the more I talked to Damon, I mean, it's just very, very impressed. And since he's been here, just with so many things, how he handles his kids, his work on the road recruiting. I spent a day with him on the road down in Charlotte. The way he is around the office, I just think he's going to bring a toughness and a discipline and accountability and kind of a fire to that position that I'm excited to see those guys compete this spring. And filling in for a guy that seemed to have a 100% approval rating. The players seem to love Coach Weaver. I'm a big fan of Coach Weaver. So that was an important hire to make, and I think you brought in the right guy to replace him. Tripp had been with me a couple of different times, and obviously started out here at East Carolina as a student assistant and a GA, and really fit in with our staff, fit in with our players,
And so, when you have a coach that fits you so well and they transition out, I think it's important to, find someone that's not just going to replace them, but someone that's going to bring, maybe a jolt of energy. And I think that Mags has done that.
Coach, I was sticking with the defense. What I think about Deontay Johnson and just the fun he brings to every situation he's in, but also the player he is. Him and other returners. What are you most excited about on the defensive side heading into 2024?
Well, I think let's don't get ahead of spring practice. I'm excited to see the competition between our offense and defense this spring because our defense, they're a high energy, intense, physical, play with a lot of emotion, just really have a lot of fun playing the game the way we want to play it. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to see the same exact thing on the other side coming at them. I mean, I think the competition and the intensity of those matchups at practice throughout the spring, especially the scrimmages, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Jamie asking, what will be differently offensively, scheme-wise? Will that be noticeable for the fans in the stands, what you guys do?
Yeah, it'll be very noticeable. This is going to be a very fast, very aggressive, take shots down the field, run the football. This is going to be a offense that you're going to see us, 8, 7, 5, 20. It's 40. You're going to see explosive plays in the run game and the pass game when we get all these guys working on the same page. And that's what I think, hoping by the end of the spring, you'll start to really see that evolve and come about to where it looks the way we want it to look. And
John David Baker said multiple times in his introductory press conference since then, speed. He wants to go fast. Yes. He wants to keep defense on their heels. Somebody asked, Robert asked, have you learned all of JDB's terminology? Because it is different from the previous.
It's different. Yeah. It's a lot different. And that's, I always joke that, I've got terminology I've used all my career. And then, it's Blake has tweaked and evolved the stuff to where he calls things different than we used to a decade ago. And then JDB comes in with a whole new terminology. And so, it's trying to equate what he calls it to what, we've called it at other times. But, I'm still working on that. So.
Chad asking, how do you manage the outside noise such as social media and call-in shows? Could be negative or positive for players and coaches. And of course, we have our post-game call-in show, and fans call in and say what they say. And I'll just say this, Coach, sometimes it seems like there's a misconception that we want ECU to lose because we get more listeners and things like that. Our most popular shows ever, we had 70 calls when ECU scored 70 on North Carolina. So trust us, we all went to ECU. We want ECU to win. But when it's not going great on the field, we have people call in, say some crazy stuff. You don't listen to it, but it could get back to you, and you hear about it. But I know you stay away from it, Coach, but it does seep into the players and the staff. So I don't know. What do you talk to your staff and players about all this outside stuff?
Well, I think it's no matter if it's the positive or the negative, either one. I don't think either one is beneficial for a coach or a player because if we play really well, we have a huge win at home. You got to be careful what you let into your head because if you lose your edge, it's going to get you the next week, and so you can't let that stuff. You got to try to filter it out and don't let it in. And that's whether it's me or a running back or a defensive back or whomever. Same thing with the negative, because it's that's it. I mean, this is we all work our tails off, and we all put everything into this to go out and compete to win. And so when you don't, it's tough on you, period. And so you start letting some of that stuff in, and it's going to get your head mucked up, and that's not going to help you the next day or the next week. And that's the whole thing is once the game's done, win or lose, the next game's the most important one.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about trust and transparency, and when you've got that with your guys in the good times, it's great, but when you go through times like last year, just I guess having that relationship with the players makes it a little bit easier that you can talk to them when things are going bad, and they will keep their buy-in. We kind of touched on this last segment, but the locker room, it seems intact no matter if it's good or bad, and that goes back to just the relationships you develop with these guys, right?
Well, and I think that's you're phrasing it exactly right. The relationship, you have to have positive relationships. And I think that's the strength, and that's the challenge right now. We talked about it in a team meeting last week, that the challenge right now is we have 21 new players. We have, getting ready to be 6 new coaches. We've got to work very hard this spring, and it's my job, it's Tay's job, it's Rajay's job, it's all their job, new players' jobs, to cultivate relationships and get to know each other and away from football. And so that piece right there of trust is why it's so important.
I could ask Coach. I'll ask you, Alex Harper. What are mat drills? What do they entail?
Very intense workouts where the purpose of them is to not break us, but make us mentally stronger, I think, is the main reason.
Is that a good answer, Coach?
It's pretty good.
pretty good.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No.
Is this the toughest time of the year? What is the toughest time of the year for a player? Is it, the summer camp or a fall camp, I should say?
Fall camp, yeah.
When it's basically summer outside and you're getting ready for the season?
Yeah. So I will, for fall camp, where I wake up at 6, get to breakfast at 6:30, and I'll be home for the day at about like 9:30-ish, depending on how long our last meeting runs.
Is that the favorite time for you, Coach? Their least favorite time, your favorite time?
Well, I think it's a necessary time.
Yeah.
And, right now, for me, right now and fall camp are the 2 times that you have to, really just push them. Because you're building the mental toughness right now. You're building, the mat drills. The other thing they do is they do unify the players also, and Alex would probably say fall camp does that as well, because you're all in it together. It's not like the quarterback gets a pass during mat drills. No, I mean, Caton Hauser's out there, Jake Garcia's out there, Raheem Jeter's out there getting their freaking butts jumped. They're getting pushed. They're getting up, down, and we're all in it together.
I know I've asked you this in the past, Coach. Who are your studs in the weight room? Yeah, I remember the classic Rick DeBrue's a pretty rocked up guy quote from years ago. Who's your weight room studs?
I don't know. You got quite a few. I mean, you start with the linemen. Dustin Hall, Eli, Tay. It's look on the in the linebacker room. I think that I'll tell you one that's really been impressive this offseason is Mike Edwards. He's put on about 10 pounds of muscle, and working very hard in there. But I think you've got a lot. You got a lot of weight room studs.
Who's your fastest guy on the team?
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
you'd have about 4 or 5 say that they are, but it's going to be interesting this spring. Anthony Smith. When we were talking to him, I talked to one of the coaches at NC State, and he said, I don't know what you got there. He said, but I promise you, he's going to be the fastest guy on your team. So we'll see if he's correct.
How about guys returning from injury? And I don't know the prognosis and everything, but a guy like Javius Bond, how's he doing currently?
He's full. He's
okay.
Full speed.
He's good to go.
He is full tilt right now, and he's on the tire pull list tomorrow morning. So we'll see how that goes.
I hear about that. What's Alex? You got a big morning coming up? No, he just
I just heard tire pull, and I looked up, and both you guys were looking at me.
No, but
is tire pull what it sounds like, guys?
Oh yeah,
ripping a tire from each other.
Don't let go of the tire.
All right,
that's it. It is a gut check drill.
I like that. All right, good stuff. Mike Houston joining us here inside the Pirate Radio studios. If you got a question, you can get it in. Jamie says, "What is Coach benching these days?" About your
not what I used to.
R.I.P. Toby Keith. I ain't as good as I once was. He's saying. Kenny says last season won't be an issue as long as things improve this year. Winning cures everything, and we'll put some smile on Pirates fans' faces. Somebody had asked earlier, it might have been Kenny, about just fans, the diehards showing up throughout the year last year, Coach, and good or bad, Pirate fans care. I know you can agree on that.
I started to say that a while ago is our fan base is passionate. I'd rather have the passion, whether it's, positive or negative, they're passionate, okay, because they care about the program. They want to see the Pirates be great. That's what I expect. I am fortunate to be somewhere where it matters. And, you could be some places where there's nobody there and nobody cares. And that's certainly not the case here. We're very, very blessed to have a very passionate fan base. But I do really appreciate, and that's one thing that from last year is, you saw the people that really were invested. You saw the people that really you could count on, and those are the ones that kept showing up to games. Those are the ones that kept supporting. Those are the ones that as soon as the season was over were, what can we do to help? What can we do to get this fixed? And I appreciate that passion.
Coach, look, it's one practice at a time, one game at a time. You want to go 1-0, but with this playoff format, if you win the conference and are the highest ranked group of 5 team out there, you get that spot in the playoff. Is that something you think about? Like, hey, we do have a carrot at the end of the stick. Let's go ahead and win this thing.
We've got a legitimate shot.
Yeah,
but you got to take care of things right in front of you, and that'll be my message when we get closer to the season. Because you look at our schedule, there's not a game on our schedule that we can't win. And I firmly believe that. And so that's why this off season is so critical, to make sure that we hit the ground running game 1.
Mike Houston joining us. Coach, what did you think of this? This is the football players dancing with the ECU dance team at the basketball game.
They need to stick to playing football. Listen, I promise you, the dancers, A, they do it a lot better, okay? And B, our guys don't have the attraction that they
I gotta say, I'm gonna say it to Rajay tomorrow. I was a little disappointed. He looks a little stiff to me, Coach. He didn't really fully. I will give him credit. They learned the moves. I heard they didn't practice a ton either. They got the moves.
I had no idea this was coming. So.
Oh yeah,
no.
you make them run a little extra for that, but that was good stuff, man. I like.
It was awesome,
and love seeing your guys. What they do. Visiting the children's hospital or doing things out in the community. I know those things super important to you and the team as well.
Well, that's one thing, and we probably need to do a better job of putting it out there. All the stuff that the kids are doing, like last year, I think we did almost 1,000 hours of community service, and I think the year before we did 1,000 hours of community service. And so Brian Butterworth does a great job coordinating that stuff, and our players enjoy that. They really enjoy the stuff in the schools with kids. They get a lot out of that, and I think that's the important thing. With you, not only are you out there engaging with kids or the community or whatever, when it fills your soul by giving back, I think that's one of the best things you can do.
Mike Houston joining us. Charles on Facebook saying, you're talking about the diehards a moment ago. He said, not bragging, but I've missed 2 games since 1993. He said there's a lot more out there like me, and that is awesome, and I can't wait to see them coming up this
I appreciate
season.
Charles.
Yeah, no doubt. Mike Houston joining us. Coach, final thoughts. What do you want to see from your guys when you meet for the spring? You mentioned how important it's going to be. What do you want to see from your team?
Well, I think when we come out and we finish up April 13th, I think it is, the spring game, when we come out of that, I want to see a confident group, all 3 phases. And I think that is what John David and that group is bringing to the offensive personnel right now. That, I'll be honest, Blake and the defensive guys, that's what they have brought to the defensive side of the ball, is confidence, belief in the system, belief in each other, belief in themselves. Because with the talent, if we're a confident group coming out, then we have a chance to do the things that we want to do.
And Coach, I wore this hat today because after the Cowboys and Eagles performance in the playoffs, there needs to be a new NFC East team to represent the league, and I think that's going to be the Commanders next year.
Nah, there's no shot.
Shot.
That is the biggest catastrophe in the NFL right now. Is the Washington Commanders. You're exactly what the Lions used to be. But the Lions hired Dan Campbell.
Yeah, and we got Dan Quinn.
I would say most of the Cowboy Nation is excited about that.
No, man, come on. No, it's Patrick Mahomes, Coach, and the Chiefs. Boy. How about their ability just to? Did you see their numbers when they're down by 7 or 10 in the postseason? It's incredible.
Well, the kids and I were talking about this before the Super Bowl, and they were like, what do you think? Who you got? And we all said the same thing. You love everything about San Francisco, but you better not bet against Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he and Andy Reid, that in clutch situations when the game's on the line, they come through. again and again.
Really impressive to watch.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Coach, thank you for hanging out with us, talking some football. We'll catch up with you again soon.
Thanks for having me on.